Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, Who's Ready for Some Fighting Words. In this video, I want to talk about the two-time world champion, Regis Prograis. He defeated Zepeda. I feel like I'm always saying his name wrong. Zepeda in the 11th round of a great fight, a really good fight. I feel like it was a good test for him. And it was just a good fight. It was I don't want to say like a throwback fight or anything like that, but it was a really good fight. It was a lot more competitive actually than I thought it was going to be quite frank with you. I thought although I feel like Regis Prograis, he won hands down and it was unanimous. Like he was just breezing through those rounds. Zepeda would touch him here and there. He would touch him here and there. And there were a few times where Regis did get cracked. Regis stayed slick and consistent. He looked really good. The head movement was really slick. It was really sharp. And he did that consistently through all the rounds. That was one thing I did notice. Like, he was just as sharp in round 11 as he was in round 1 or 2. And that was pretty impressive. That consistent head movement. You don't see a lot of guys like that in the late, deep rounds, where they'll be consistent with their head movement. And, they'll be a little lazy in a jab or anything, or something like that. But he looked really lean. He looked really good. He looked like, you can tell this is a very disciplined fight camp for Regis Prograis, and it showed in his performance. Zepeda really had nothing for Regis all night. It's funny because you hear the commentary and they keep saying, well, he had almost 2 years off. Yeah, but some guys are just not on some guys' level. I mean, you can't keep going to the fact that he had 2 years off. I'm sorry. Ring rust is a problem for some people, but it's not a problem for all people. And the reality is, there are just some guys who are better than other guys in the sport of boxing. Because Floyd Mayweather would take a year off all the time, like it was going out of style. And he would come back and he would be unbelievably dominant the whole fight. So we can't just say that it was ring rust. We got to give credit where credit is due. And Regis Prograis deserves all the credit because, okay, Zepeda was missing, but Regis Prograis was making him missing. Regis Prograis was dictating the fight. That wasn't because Zepeda was a slacker in there. No, it's because he couldn't catch Regis Prograis. Period. That's all it was. Regis Prograis was slick with the jab. He was also doubling up in that jab. And I think to have a heavy-handed guy like Regis Prograis doubling up in a jab, I think it would make you flinch, and I think it would make you second guess. And during the second half of the fight, Zepeda was definitely second guessing a lot of his movement and a lot of his own personal attacks. I mean, I just feel like, honestly, Regis Prograis had control the entire fight. There was a round where things got a little out of control for Regis Prograis, but he quickly reversed that. Again, his chin. One thing about Regis Prograis, dude's got a chin. He's a throwback fighter. I say this about certain fighters. I feel like you could put Regis Prograis in any era of fighting. You could throw him in the 80s, you could throw him in the 60s, you could throw him in the 50s, you could throw him in the 40s. Not many dudes you today could go back to the 40s, the 50s, the 30s. Not many guys can go that far back. I'm sorry. Not many guys can go that far back. Like, those guys were fighting a lot. Those guys were fighting several times in a year and then doing like 15 rounds, that's tough. I feel like you could easily put Regis Prograis in that category, and we would probably still be talking about him, and he definitely would end up still with a belt and still be a champion in any era. I truly believe that. Overall, like I said, that was a really good fight. I mean, it was over with. Afterwards, now we got the two-time champ, WBC, Regis Prograis. Now, the question is, there were two people who were brought up. One was Jose Ramirez, and the other one was Teofimo Lopez. And, who could be next? Now, listening to Richard Schaefer for Regis Prograis, he was saying, well, we want the bigger fights. So, obviously, if you want the bigger fights, you're looking for Teofimo Lopez. You're not necessarily looking for, Jose Ramirez. Not to say that he's a nobody, but clearly Teofimo Lopez is the bigger name of the two, and that's the fight that you'd want to have. But, Regis Prograis just kind of laughed it off, when the reporter asked about the Ramirez fight. And he said, yeah, I've been chasing that guy for 5 years. And he said, all of a sudden, I have this belt. And now everybody wants to get a crack at the title. Everybody wants to take a shot at the champ. But he was like, basically, where were you at 5 years when I was calling your name out? Which I think that would be a great fight because you have Ramirez who ain't going nowhere. You're talking about, like, barn burner. Ramirez versus Prograis. That's crazy. When I think about the Teofimo fight versus Regis Prograis, I don't necessarily think Teofimo will stack up at all to Regis Prograis. I think Teofimo is very creative, and I think he's very fast coming from a lighter weight. And I think he is just a naturally explosive, fast guy. But overall, I think he would get knocked out. I think, listen, if George Kambosos can put you down, Regis Prograis can not only put you down, but he could keep you down. No problem. I would definitely go all in saying that Regis Prograis will and easily could knock out Teofimo Lopez. I have no issues with that. I have no issues verbalizing that, saying that out loud. I think that would be a good fight for as long as it lasts. However, I think Prograis versus Ramirez will last a lot longer. But, they were talking about Ramirez might be a mandatory, which is why Richard Schaefer was talking about, the more popular fights would be Teofimo Lopez. I think the easy money would be Teofimo Lopez. I think Regis Prograis would beat Ramirez just because he's literally made for him. But when I look at Teofimo Lopez, I don't think he can take the power. I literally don't think he lasts 5 rounds with Regis Prograis. I think with his trickery and his creativity, I think that will be the thing that keeps his boat above water. But at the end of the fight, I see that boat sinking. I see it sinking. And, when asked to Regis Prograis, well, what do you want? And he was like, it's no secret. I want Josh Taylor. I personally don't think Josh Taylor is going to win in his rematch against Jack Catterall. He didn't win the first one, so I don't see any reason why he would win the second one. But I don't think he wins that rematch. So it's just like I would have to, if I'm Regis Prograis, I'm looking at Jack Catterall because I don't see there's any way that Josh Taylor gets through Catterall a second time. We learned just don't put it in the judge's hands. Especially don't go to his backyard and put it in the judge's hands. But I think if Regis Prograis, let's just say that Josh Taylor were to make it through Jack Catterall, which I highly doubt, but let's just say he did. I think Regis Prograis beats him in the rematch. I think if Regis Prograis lost to Josh Taylor in the first fight, it's by like a point, literally a point. But I personally think he won that fight. I think in the clinch work and then, just fighting up close, I think he got the better of Josh Taylor. But it went the way it went, and Regis Prograis was a man and a true champion, and he didn't cry about it or anything like that, but he also felt that he won the fight. I was a strong proponent and feeling like, a strong voice in saying that he won the fight. But I definitely would have Regis Prograis winning in a rematch with Josh Taylor. And I think the Regis Prograis that we just saw, I think he smokes Josh Taylor. That's what I think. I think that guy smokes Teofimo Lopez. And I think he does to Ramirez what he did to Zepeda. I think it would be at the end of the fight. But nonetheless, he too would succumb to Regis Prograis. So overall, that was my video on Regis Prograis, and I guess where it should go next. If you like these videos, please like, please share, please subscribe to my channel. There's a lot more I want to do. Unfortunately, I need a few more subscribers. I need you to like. I need you to hit that thumbs up and also share these videos with some of your boxing friends.